right, good afternoon. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners Check-In for Monday, May 13th, 2024. It's 2:03 p.m. My name is Ty Mentor, Chair of the Board. To my left, Vice Chair Commissioner Wayne Fournier and Commissioner Emily Klaus. Commissioner Mejia on Zoom and Commissioner Edwards will be joining us momentarily. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. Seated here in the boardroom as well is County Manager Leonard Hernandez and Assistant County Managers Robin Campbell and Rob Gelder. We have an executive session to start things off, our standing items after that. This is slated for approximately 60 minutes. Does that sound accurate to whoever's leading this discussion? Okay. So we'll start with that. And this is an executive session pursuant to RCW 4231.10.1b to consider selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of increased price. Purchase of a building is a topic, and Commissioner's action may follow. It's 2:04. We'll be in executive session until approximately 3:04. Okay, it's 3:06 PM. We are back and completed the executive session on today's Commissioners Check-in agenda. We are now ready to proceed forward, but there is an action that we are going to take following the executive session. Is there a motion?
I move to authorize the county manager to negotiate a real estate purchase for the county following specified guidelines made by the board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize county manager to negotiate a real estate transaction. And is there any discussion regarding the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So that will be recorded, and we'll move on to item 2, reports on external boards and commissions. Return Klaus, I guess I'll just start with you.
Let's see, I don't have anything to report back on from last week's board and external board and commissions meetings, but I did want to let the board know that I have JazzCom this evening. And if there are any like last minute questions, or maybe not last minute questions, but any questions that you all want to reiterate for me to make sure I bring to JazzCom tonight, then I can take note of those now so that I can make sure to bring them back to JazzCom tonight.
I have a question on that.
Go ahead.
You know, the sheriff was concerned today that he be in attendance when we're discussing some of this stuff involving his office.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder, because we've had this questionable relationship, I guess, would it be beneficial to have one of the sheriff's folks attend that meeting with you? Because it's a monthly meeting, isn't it?
Yes.
So, I mean, this might be short notice or something. I don't know if there'd be somebody available, but at least giving him the opportunity, he's not sitting on the board or anything, but to assign one of his people to sit in, be there for discussion, because it sure seems like we get a little bit of differences of opinions, and maybe it'd be better. I don't know.
So, just as an FYI, Deputy Mayor Miller reached out to both me and Commissioner Fournier, and he wants to sit down with the both of us and Sheriff Sanders to discuss JazzCom as well, and wants to discuss like improving kind of that relationship. So we're going to be setting up a meeting just to have those initial conversations. So there's that as well. I'm not sure what, I mean, we can, I guess, let the sheriff know if he wants to send one of his people there
He's
to the meeting.
definitely not obligated.
But the meetings are usually like, I don't know, they're usually more at a higher level.
Because it seems like we end up with a little conflicting, who's who, what's happening at times. I'm just saying it'd be nice. He obviously wants to be involved in anything discussing his shop that we're working on. And if that's still alive, I don't even know if that issue's alive, about his involvement on animal control.
I certainly think when we're having discussions here in the boardroom, to have him here would be beneficial. When it's talking about animal control and, you know, animal enforcement, I would say for certainly, I'd like to have him here for that. I don't know how the JazzCom meeting.
Yeah,
I don't know
okay.
anything about them,
And maybe that's more appropriate.
but there is a
than what I
disconnect,
was
because like when I was at the EDC meeting and it got brought up, there were several members of of JazzCom that were at the EDC, that are on the EDC board, and their characterizations of certain discussions were very different than the ones that we'd had here. And so there is a rift
Okay.
in communication, like, and I think we could solve that here.
Yeah, okay, well then maybe your thing is much more appropriate than
I don't know.
my position. I'm just wondering out loud.
And I think this is timely because we had a briefing that we received from who heads up, Sarah, and then, Assistant City Manager Lacey was part of that. And they presented some good information, but there's, I think, more information and more conversation that needs to be had so that we understand the full context of where the county is at and where they're at and how do we bridge the two together, so.
Yeah, I think there might be an issue of our needs are different than some of the incorporated cities, and that might be where this rub is coming. Maybe.
Can you remind me, Commissioner Mejia, who the alternate is for JASCOM? Are you the alternate? I can't remember.
It might be
Commissioner Edwards.
Yeah, it might
Is-
be.
I knew I volunteered myself
I'm
completely. out of
98% sure it's Commissioner Edwards.
That makes sense. Yeah, I enthusiastically asked for JASCOM. I think that's one of my top 3.
Yeah.
But I was
So we
wondering-
gave it to you.
Not knowing
We
the
like to
No, I
accommodate.
knew
climate.
about
Oh, you
this,
did?
and
Okay.
I'm happy to address it. I'm trying really hard to have as many meetings as I need to have to like fully wrap my mind around it. But is it?
It's not me.
Okay.
It's not me. Hey, I just got volunteered for this audit
Is
thing.
it?
No, it's you.
I know.
It's the other bald
Mr.
guy.
Edwards used to be- Is there any chance, not to
I
like,
don't.
well, I'm wondering if like there's any chance I could maybe attend with Malcolm instead of
That
one
would
of
be
you.
a 3-person.
I'm willing, I'm happy to remove myself.
Oh
since
my
it's-
gosh, I removed
since it's
myself
the-
now.
Since it's the primary and the alternate for
But you've got the
JASCOM,
history. That's the thing.
it's the primary and the alternate
you've
for
got-
JASCOM.
Were you
I'm more than happy.
you're the, what do they call that? The member emeritus or the past president?
I've had plenty of conversations with Malcolm about it, so I think he knows my point of view on this situation. I think I've shared it here. My concern is that, in terms of the services that we're receiving, right, and then not being, our needs being different as well. And while the cities are getting, they're happy with the services they're receiving because of, it fits everything they need, but for us, it's missing a big part of our needs. And hearing from, the last presentation that other counties are doing things like where they are addressing livestock situations, and for us to be paying like $1 million and we're not even addressing livestock, I just have questions about okay, if we were to go back to previous, right, and maybe we do it differently, are there other methods that we could be addressing? Because I just don't think it, for the horse is still out in Tenino, that's all I can
Still
think of
running
it.
around. We're just lucky it didn't breed with the zebra.
And it's not uncommon for, as was said, incorporated cities with tighter jurisdictional limits to have one need, and unincorporated areas have a very different need because of the wide open space nature and the difference in the type of living and the type of animals folks have. That's something that I've seen in the past as well. That being said, my first briefing was the time I got to sit in with Commissioner Klaus and Sarah, and so I believe I have a meeting set up with Sarah and Assistant City Manager Lacey to go into more depth. I have some homework to look at a former presentation that was made to the board on some things, so we'll be jumping into that and getting educated on what the issues are.
And I guess another piece of it, right, is I would like for the relationship with the sheriff's office to improve with JASCOM. I mean, and not to say and that's kind of like another piece of the conversation I had with Deputy Mayor Miller was, I really believe that relationship needs to improve in order to have a good partnership, and to really address the needs of all the residents in Thurston County. And if it doesn't, then, it just puts the board in a very difficult situation, in a very difficult position, and trying to find alternatives to like fill in the gaps, and I don't think that benefits anyone really. If we're gonna be doing it one way and like, it just, so for me, I think just a lot of situations need to be addressed. I know they've had a lot of, issues with hiring someone first, and then it was the T-com situation. But it just, I'm still seeing gaps, and I don't know if, I just want ways to address them, and
Is JazzCom discussing the new, location for a new shelter, Emily?
I believe so. Tonight, I believe they will.
And is our property on that list of,
I don't know that part yet.
But the funding mechanism to make that happen is substantial,
Yeah.
and I don't know where we'd get the money.
well, me either, but just curious.
Kind of
When you
need
say
to
our
know if
property.
the county's in or out
Yeah.
to be
Yeah, I mean,
able
I-
to
I'm
do
told
that
that they're
space
looking at that
needs.
property, and we're looking at Keowee Village, so
Yeah.
I'm just seeing how do these pieces fit, what's the timing, and how serious is that? And
Yeah, to Robin's comment, I think JazzCom is in a place where they need to understand where the county's position will be and what the longevity of that position is in order for them to understand their financial outlook and ability to make capital outlay.
And to do the space need assessment, because if the county's not gonna participate, they need much less space than
There's a
if we
volume
are.
difference, yeah,
Yeah.
goes down. So
So,
understand what their needs are. I think it's a matter of some relationship building, some understanding, and then, as you said, Commissioner Fournier, understanding what are the facts so we can narrow down where the rub points are and not just make it about, it's just not working.
Okay, is that it for you, Commissioner Klaus?
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards?
No, I gave mine
Commissioner
last
Mejia?
week.
so. Okay, I have plenty of internal and external meetings, attended the RHC as the alternate, the chamber annual meeting. We had an all-day intercity annual planning retreat this Friday, where we discussed kind of the future of the zero fare policy, kind of the, well, staying zero fare, and kind of just, we did a whole SWOT analysis on it. And there was just a lot of great discussion on it. And then we spoke about like other services being offered by different transit agencies. The on-demand one was interesting. And so it's basically like an Uber for transit agencies.
But
they're-
free? Free Uber?
No, they're not free. They are, there's kind of, and apparently some transit agencies have dedicated a big portion of their budget to like do that, but it's not paying out in the future. But we're talking, is there a possibility to pilot maybe a night owl service in the summer?
Nightline. Summer Nightline?
Summer night.
Caught my
life,
attention,
on demand.
Commissioner.
Yeah, I know. We spoke a lot about the Nightline and kind of just and how to better partner with like just different agencies around our region. So there was just a lot of good conversations about like the future of zero fare and just the future of intercity transit. So it was a really good planning retreat, and just very good conversations all around. And so it was staff, it was, the board and the CAC committee. So it was just a lot of perspectives.
You guys ever, before you move off IT, so I brought this up in the past, and just, it's on the top of my mind because on my drive this morning from Vancouver, I saw 2 Lewis County Transit little buses. And they're not buses, they're like little extended vans. And I've always wondered, because I've seen those in other countries, and like when we get neighborhoods, like, let's say in Tumwater, UGA or whatever, or out there by, Black Hills. You get little neighborhoods that need service, but it can't, we have such a big, in a way, we have such a big clunky, all of our, fixed route and the big buses and everything, like, has there ever been a thought of just a more mobile, like, just to hit those, like, they could hit, like, all the kind of, like, outlying neighborhoods and create,
Maybe even South Thurston County.
maybe a service that would be cheaper and easier. I mean, these new buses that they had full, like, disability access from the back and stuff. They're pretty fancy, but they'd cost so much less than a bus to operate and run.
It wasn't discussed.
Microbuses or whatever.
Yeah, no, it wasn't really discussed. The big thing was discussed was the on-demand service for those areas where, it was like the newer areas, or like just to do little pilots here and there to see like what the rider fare was going to be was the big thing that was, but microbuses were not discussed.
It's
I'm happy to bring it
interesting.
up, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just because it's always like for IT, it's all, and I love IT, but it's like, it's always all or nothing, right? It's either the route has to be sustainable for a full-on big old bus, or else you can't do it. And it's like, there are intermediate options out there if they wanted to have a more flexible fleet. Like when we're talking about the Bar Holdings project, and I know people were talking about, well, is that gonna have transit service? And you're talking about school there, and you're talking about a YMCA and all these different things, but, can IT sustain a service out there? I don't know. I mean, Lewis County, I'd be curious, if I were on the board, I'd be curious to see what is Lewis County doing, because I saw 2 Lewis County Transit microbuses today on the I-5.
No,
So they've invested, and they look brand new, so and they even have a brand new logo and stuff, so I'm guessing it's something super new.
and I'm wondering, so I think what's kind of the interest with the on-demand service was the need to not have that like extra licensing rate because what IT has been facing has been that huge operator shortage, right? And trying to get these classes through and training so we can go back to like full service when we first kind of launched in 2020, but we're finally going to hopefully get there in September and hopefully have the staffing needs. And so I think just some of the hesitance has been like, and kind of the interest for the on-demand was that it didn't need these additional licensing requirements because it's just like a passenger van rather
Easier to
than
get drivers.
yeah. And so I'm wondering with the microbuses, if that's kind of the, like, requirement as well, but I'm happy to send that over to IT and get some answers.
When you guys
Yeah.
start, when you start to like, people start to say, can you expand service here, can you expand service there, like, and it's like, well, this doesn't pencil out, like, I would like to just see that at least, kind of just thought through, maybe soon, just to see. Great, okay, go ahead, I'm sorry, I stopped
Sorry.
you on IT.
Nope. And then, just events this weekend, which you were at. The Prairie Appreciation Day was great. It was a beautiful sunny day. The AA HBI Heritage Month celebration, which was very well attended, and the dances were always great. And then I attended the Spring Education Luncheon held by the League of Women Voters, where
Was the music good?
yeah, they had all the children were dancing, and it was. I always enjoy the dances. Where Auditor Hall received an award.
In absentia.
In absentia.
I don't really have much. It was, you guys went to Prairie Appreciation Day. I went to the opening day of boating, and the Wooden Boat Fair, and that was a nice event. I think they'd skipped it the last couple of years, and this is, it was nice to see the Wooden Boat Fair return. So it was going on down on Percival Landing, and then, hope everybody had a great Mother's Day.
I don't really have a report. I had a lot meeting, Sentencing Guideline Commission, nothing major there, and lots of community events this
You
commission.
had a win in the Sentencing Guidelines Commission.
I did have a win. One of the issues that really motivated me to join the Sentencing Guideline Commission got addressed, and I was able to get some traction with the commission on kind of putting identity theft crimes in line with other theft crimes. They're sort of had this incredibly outsized, the penalty ranges were first of all, you can stack them in a different way, you can aggregate them in a different way, they have to be consecutively sentenced, they're like 3 seriousness levels higher than other thefts that are exactly the same. The way they're committed, you can create more counts, because if I steal your purse and it's got 4 credit cards in it, I can get a count for each credit card, and then if I go around to like gas stations and stores and try to use it, I can get a count for each attempted use, and they cannot be considered one criminal episode because the court has determined that even though it's your purse, you think you're the victim, well, no, eventually each bank and each store might be a victim. So when you have multiple victims, you can't treat it as similar criminal conduct to allow for more flexibility in sentencing. So they're just really out of whack, and we were able to make some adjustments for recommendation to the legislature on putting them more in line with the way other theft sentencings are structured. So I was pretty excited about that. That's it for my external boards, so let's go to commissioner items. Anyone have anything? I have a couple, if you want me to start. One, I mentioned this before, but Prosecutor Thunheim wanted to know if we could do a proclamation for Therapeutic Court Awareness Month. It's a national thing. So I told him how we've been doing the proclamations and trying to catch them at the beginning of the year and, parcel them out. And so he kind of understood that. As a compromise, what my proposal would be to have us just put the proclamation on the consent agenda. And then I would read, I've created a little paragraph where I would just read as a recognition of it, so calling people's attention to it, but we wouldn't have the speeches and photos and all that. And he thought that would be okay, if that's okay with the board.
Did you mention that he could also kind of do the highlights during the public comment?
I'll send him an email and highlight that. Somebody could bring public comment. So I'll have this, and then we'll just circulate if we could circulate the proposed proclamation, just to have it signed and added to consent agenda. It won't be on the presentations part, just like we did for the one we did last week. I can't remember which one it was. Okay, perfect. The other thing on my list was we've gotten the 2 letters from about the forestry from the school district and the fire district, and I drafted a proposed response. I'm going to send this response, but I thought I would circulate it to see if anyone wanted to sign it with me, or I'll just send it myself. But I figured it was worth having at least you guys see what I'm sending and see if you had any interest in addressing this issue in this way, or maybe you have your own ways. I'm not twisting anyone's arm. I just wanted you to see it.
I did have a fire commissioner flag me down at the chamber event last week and said they have now come up with a funding loss, and they're gonna send us another letter, so.
Okay.
Was that a different fire district?
I think there's a campaign going on.
Yeah.
Was
So
that
that's
in-
why I want to
What
respond.
was that?
Was that a different fire district than we
Yes,
received?
that was a different fire district. Putnam was the fire commissioner.
Did everybody get a copy of my draft? I'm supposed to have it circulated to your
No,
systems.
I didn't see it.
Okay. Well, then I will do that, and I'll hold off for a couple days before I send it out. And if you have any thoughts about it, I'd certainly like to hear them. Okay, those are mine. Anyone else with a commissioner item before we adjourn?
I just want, I think I mentioned it last week that I had a really exciting presentation on frogs.
What?
On frogs, on the spotted frogs. And I really enjoyed it. And so I did kind of reach back out to the Fish and Wildlife folks that presented it. And I looped CPED in, Josh, and he said that they'd love to also talk to us about frogs. So I don't want to sign you guys up for a frog presentation, but I know Commissioner Klaus wants it. So I guess I'm warning you that I've loaded in the chamber a potential frog presentation coming down the pipeline, and it mentally, a gentleman named Teal from, I've got his email, his name.
What group?
U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
Oh, okay.
It was, there was a couple of them, but he gave the main presentation, and he was really funny. He did a good job.
Can I do a follow-up on Wayne's frog
Only if it's in
presentation?
support of the frog
It
frog.
has to do with frogs.
water strat. But, so you might be learning about frogs soon, and it's my
Okay.
fault.
So, if you wanna help the Oregon spotted frog, you go bullfrog hunting.
That was one of the suggestions, and that was one of the things I got excited about. They invited me out frog gigging.
And you're doing a double service,
Yeah.
and they're darn good eating.
Exactly. So if we can bring frog gigging to the agenda, that's a win for
Anyway, I
everybody.
mean, if we're gonna have tit for tat or
Yeah,
whatever.
they
you know.
invited me out frog gigging and digging holes in ponds.
They spend
And that
a-
just sounds fun.
Yeah, they're not native, the bullfrogs are
Yeah.
not native, and they prey on the Oregon spotted frogs.
Sounds like you're teeing up another proposed recreation program in the county
Yep,
too.
yep. Frog permits sold at the county office.
Well, maybe bounties.
We
Bounties
have a
could be
frog
paid.
cook-off. I could see a cook-off in the future.
Frog legs.
Yes.
And that is true, they do try to jump out of the pan. True statement.
Oh my gosh.
And that's after they've been cleaned and put in the pan, frying in bacon grease.
Fried and bacon grease.
Okay, next.
Well, I just had to throw that out. Little farm boy etiquette.
So for the, elected officials meeting tomorrow, I see we have auditor, district court, and treasurer. I know the assessor had requested to be a part of kind of that general government group, so wondering if that was able to happen, or,
So the assessor is not available on Tuesdays,
okay.
so that's part of what we need to work out.
Well, can't he have a chief deputy come or something?
Didn't we
I'm
just
sorry,
have an
what?
update?
He can't have a chief deputy do it for him?
He has asked
So I
that
guess
we
it's just gonna
schedule
be just
him
for
not
him.
on a Tuesday. So
Oh.
I've not had an opportunity to talk with Leonard about this, and
Invite the county clerk.
Okay.
what about the county?
I said we could invite the county clerk instead since there's a vacancy.
So
And the room got caught
we've
quiet.
got all of the electeds on a rotation, and
Oh, okay.
I believe Auditor
been a while
Hall
since we've
mentioned this
seen
morning she
Karen.
won't be here
right,
tomorrow.
she came today instead because of her holidays.
But Commissioner,
All right, because she said she has to go to her conference.
Right.
I'll touch base with staff and take a look at what the issue is there and see what we can do.
Okay, anything else? All right, then we're adjourned.